Hey guys, this is James from Vitamin Detox Secrets. As you guys know, you guys are very excited to see the live lecture from special guest speaker today. So I have you here, a Dr. Banu Abuhari. He holds a BDS Bachelor of Dental Surgery and a certified orthodontist. He is also a certified prosthodontist and a founder and chairman of IIIMS. Today, he will specifically talk about a lecture titled Role of Mental Health in Weight Loss. And from this lecture, he will give like lots of values and a lot of good nuggets. So listen very carefully, and I hope you can take some notes because it will be a very special time. And he has actually have prepared a lot. So here you go. How are you today?
Hey, hi, Dr. James Kim. Thanks for the warm invitation you have extended to me. Really happy to be here with you. Uh, on your behalf and on behalf of myself and behalf of your FB page, Vitamin Detox Secrets, and my fitness blog, fitrebel.in, I extend an invitation to all of our viewers here, those who are here to
Mm-hmm.
attend this talk, this discussion we are going to have today. So, first of all, before going into it, I hope and pray all of you are safe. These are hard times. COVID pandemic sweeping through the globe. Hope most of you have taken your immunization and taking all the usual precautions and maintaining the social distance. I pray for your safety. I hope you all stay safe. And so, without wasting any more time, let's get into the subject. So today, my
All
dear
right.
friends, we are going to discuss. We are going to have a talk. We are going to have a discussion on the topic uh, how weight loss affects our mm, uh, how mental health issues. Sorry, how mental health issues affect our weight loss journey. So what I'll be doing is how we are going to address the issue is I'll be going into the technicalities, the way body reacts to mental health issues, and how they are manifested in terms of our fitness, how they affect our fitness, how they affect our health in general, and our weight loss program in specific. So I'll be going into the details. And in the later part, I'll be addressing the tips and techniques which I recommend, which I have a strong opinion for, uh, those that you can inculcate in your life so that you can counteract the negative effect of mental health issues, particularly in relation to the fitness aspect and the health aspect. Lastly, we'll be addressing questions put up by you. I'm sure most of you would be having a lot of questions after all the technical nib-nab going around the discussion. So, see, when it comes to mental health issues, it's a very poorly understood and grossly overlooked aspect of our fitness in general, and weight loss and keeping the weight off part of the fitness journey in particular. But when we look into the detail, we'll find that weight loss issues and the health issues which we face are complementary to each other. What I mean by that is that uh, a person who will be having mental health issues will not be able to maintain the optimum weight range, and a person who will not be able to maintain the optimum weight range will end up having mental health issues. Now, how that happens is what we are going to discuss about. One aspect what we find is that in person who is experiencing a prolonged episode of chronic stress, anxiety, we would see there is an unwanted weight gain. How that happens is there is a physiologic reaction of the body to stress, which is a fight or flight reaction. Now, physiologic reactions are those which are normal, which are considered in the normal range. Whenever we are faced with the fight or flight situation, a stressful situation, the body produces stress hormones, especially cortisol, and these stress hormones, in case they are there in the body for a long period of time, they produce uh, certain kind of chronic reactions which can manifest as systemic diseases. And these systemic diseases can be in form of cardiovascular diseases, renal failure, or uh, um, non-fatty acid, non-alcoholic liver disorders. Cortisol produced in the body also induces uh, yeah, increased diet. The person tends to take a lot of calories from the food which he is intaking, and then he deviates towards comfort food. Now, as all of us would be knowing, the comfort foods are laden with trans fats and processed sugars and processed grains. They tend to be the most unhealthy form of food which we can consume. But it would be usually noted the person who's depressed for a long period of time would have the tendency to, or would have the urge to eat to consume comfort foods. Comfort foods are they produce a lot of chronic inflammation in the systemic organs of the body. And another scenario which we would be clinically seeing is there is an unwanted weight loss. Now, how that happens is there is a center in the brain which manages the interoception. What is interoception has to do with all this is interoception is the center in brain mm, which provides pleasure, which governs the providing pleasure to the person who's consuming food. And when the interoception center is depressed, the person does not get any kind of pleasure from consuming food. There is no gratification to the person consuming food or drinks. So there is it's a simple maths phenomenon. Less number of calories going in the body would be manifesting as weight loss, because the body has to function, right? The body has to take care of all its daily uh, cellular functions. So body needs fuel for that. The ATPs, the need fuel to function. So they'll be taking up the uh, food cells which are deposited in the body, namely the adipose. Those are the fat cells or the muscular tissue. So what we will notice over a long period of time is there would be a drastic reduction in the weight. So this is another clinical manifestation. Now, interestingly, when we in the starting of the session, I had talked about that these are complementary to each other. Now, there is another phenomenon where when a person is obsessively thinks about his body figure or body weight and wants that body weight to be in that kind of a particular range. Uh, and if the person is not able to achieve that, the person develops certain kind of self-image disturbances, some certain kind of self-image psychosis, and goes on to experience mild bouts of anxiety and depression, which during a long term turn into obsession with reducing weight. And if not able to reach on that target, uh, the person starts to manifest extreme clinical conditions, which are namely bulimia and anorexia nervosa. Now, when we talk about bulimia and anorexia nervosa, let me be clear that these are extreme clinical manifestations, but then we should know about them, so that in case we spot someone with those kind of symptoms or those kind of habits, we can take note and take due action. So, what happens in the person with bulimia and anorexia nervosa? The person tends to binge eat. Since there is depression and there is anxiety and long-standing chronic exposure to stressful conditions, the person tends to eat a lot. And in order to negate the effects of so many calories which the person has consumed, then he takes certain drastic steps in order to control the weight gain. Now, those steps could be as innocent as putting in excessive exercising, excessive workouts, and then those could go into extremes of taking undue laxatives to get rid of the extra food which was ingested, which was consumed, or even vomiting, self-induced vomiting. And these bulimia and anorexia nervosa will again manifest certain clinical conditions over a long period of time. They will manifest clinical conditions which will affect the person systematically. There will be a loss of nutrition. The person will show malnutrition. The person, although would look thin, but will not be healthy in the term of when we talk about in the doctor's lingo. There will definitely be a lack of proper malnutrition, proper macronutrient balance, and vitamin and minerals will definitely be lacking if a proper test is conducted. So these are basically the manifestations which take place whenever a person attaches himself or herself to a kind of body image, to a kind of to a kind of weight range which person thinks is appropriate for them to manage. Now, what's happening lately is there are a lot of social apps and the posts put on by the celebrities and people in general tend to put a lot of pressure on individuals to obtain those kind of figures, those kind of body weight ranges which are not uh, physiologically possible. I'm sure you all must have heard about phrases like lose 10 kgs in 15 days and try to have a physique like a bodybuilder. Those are at certain times not possible. Those are at certain times the your physical uh, uh, body will not allow. It will not support those kind of transformations. And if you're not able to get those kind of transformations, you'll be disappointed, and there will be a lack of self-respect, a lack of self-courage, and there is a tendency to develop mental issues around the whole phenomenon. So these are basically the clinical manifestations, the vague mental health issues affect our fitness journey and our weight loss journey. So now I'll be putting forth my opinions regarding the tips and techniques which we can inculcate in our daily life, so that we can negate the negative effects of these mental health issues affecting us. Whenever we go on searching on the net, I'm sure you will find many more tips and techniques. I'm just zeroing down on what I think is important, just the four pillars of our health, zeroing down on those aspects which I have personally found to work for myself and which I recommend in my blog, fitrebel.in. In case you have visited that, you would have found there are many articles which are addressing various aspects of health, nutrition, and fitness. And I tend to go into the holistic approach, try to attack the problem from all the angles rather than just focusing on one or two aspects of it. So please go and visit my blog. I think it will be useful. You will find a lot of information which you can put to use in daily life. So moving on, uh, the first and the foremost advice to you from me would be to exercise. Now, this is a catch-22 situation when a person is mentally depressed or is not in the optimum range of mental performance. There is a certain lack of energy. You would have noticed yourself. There is someone around you who is mentally not capacitated and not functioning properly. You would have noticed there is a lack of energy, and there is apathy towards doing daily duties. The person would not be eating properly. The person would not be wanting to indulge in daily functioning of like a normal human being does. So now there's a $1 million question, that if a person is not able to exercise, the energy levels are low, how can we make the person exercise? See, we have to keep a very simple approach here, because exercise in itself can be used as a weapon against depression. If depression reduces a person's tendency to exercise, it can be used the other way around too. Exercise would definitely uh, can be used as a tool to negate the side effects of depression or anxiety or whatever the case may be. And how that happens is exercise releases endorphins in the body. Endorphins are feel good hormones. They are hormones which make you elated, which support the normal body functions. The circulation in the body increases, and the bodily functions tend to operate on a more optimum level. So now the practical advice would be to choose a form of exercise which you love, which you're easy to approach, which you're easy to carry on for a long period of time, which you can do consistently. For example, you don't have to join a gym, you don't have to start a workout. In case the person is experiencing bouts of episodes of depression or anxiety, the best thing he or she can do, is go for a walk 30 minutes a day with a loved one, or alone, or with a family member, and uh, and do it for at least 5 days a week, and go on doing it at least consistently over a long period of time. So what exercise is going to do is it's going to suppress the symptoms of depression, make the person feel good, and also there will be a sense of achievement. It's not about how much we do, it's about starting to do it. Even if we try to attain 40% of what we can do, it is still better than 0%, right? So there is an article in my blog, start by doing it badly. I'm much impressed by that article, and I think you should read it. In that sense, it will guide you in the proper manner. So the another pillar, which another technique which I would like to discuss is nutrition. Now again, like with the exercise part, when a person is depressed, a person is feeling anxious or overtly stressful, there is a tendency either to overeat, like we have discussed, or a tendency to undereat. The person will not have any pleasure out of, will not seek any kind of pleasure out of eating, will not feel like eating. The commonest phrase used is, I don't feel like eating. Okay, so what we can do is, we have to keep the approach very simple. We have to replace at least one meal with a wholesome diet. Now, what is a wholesome diet, and what are we looking to replace? We are looking to replace the processed food which the person is consuming. Now, what we mean by processed food is, for me, processed food is anything which comes out of a cellophane wrapper or a cardboard box. It tends to be laden with trans fats and refined sugars and processed grains, and it is one of the most unhealthy foods that one can put in the body. So replace at least one meal with something which is wholesome. When we think about wholesome foods, I think the easiest way to come to a point at what wholesome food is, to go back 10 to 20 years back in time and just think what our ancestors have been eating, what they have been consuming. Something which is farm grown, something which is easily, cheaply available, something which is seasonal. Try to avoid non-seasonal fruits, non-seasonal vegetables, because they are mostly preserved using chemicals, and are not they are not at their nutritive best. So that is one part. Again, I would like to suggest uh, you going against dieting. I'm not a very big advocate of dieting. I think dieting is a very temporary measure which we can undertake to keep our weight in control. Also, dieting robs the body of the nutritive factors that it needs, the macronutrients and the micronutrients which the body needs for normal functioning. My simple advice here would be to eat a bit less. Say you can start by eating 80% of what you are your hunger seems to you like. Uh, and also to replace simple carbohydrates with complex carbohydrates. Again, you will find a lot of information about that on the internet. I will not be going into the details, but simple carbohydrates cause a temporary surge in blood sugar levels, and over a period of time, like I discussed before, they will cause systemic diseases like cardiovascular diseases and renal failure, and of course the type 2 diabetes. Complex carbohydrates take a lot of time to digest. They have a lot of roughage. They provide a lot of nutritive value when we compare it to the simple carbohydrates. They are easily available. They are cheaper, and they have a higher sense of satiety. Satiety means the property by which a food has the tendency to satisfy you. For example, if I eat a bag of potato chips and I compare it to eating half a papaya, so even if the calorie content of both of them are same, the half papaya would satisfy me much more than uh, a bag of potato chips. Okay, even after eating a bag of potato chips, I would still be hungry, but after eating half a papaya, I will not be. So I hope you're getting the example. Replace your simple carbohydrates with complex carbohydrates. Again, we have to approach this in a very simple manner, in a very step to step measure. Otherwise it will not be uh, conducive for the person who's suffering from mental disease to take it in his stride all at once. uh, Need to be very supportive of them. Okay, so now coming to the third pillar, the third tip, the third technique which I would like to suggest is, and this is again the most complex one because it has the most effect and it is the most affected one by the mental health issues which arise. That is sleep. It is a common phenomenon. I think most of you would have witnessed, be it in your society, be it in your immediate near and dear ones, or even in movies, a person who's upset is not able to sleep properly in the night. Or on the other end of the spectrum, the person spends the nearly the whole day in the bed, either sleeping or just lying around, lacking energy or lacking any kind of initiative to participate in daily activities which normal human beings do. So how we can negate that is, there are a couple of approaches which we can take. The first one would be to have a designated time to sleep and a designated time to get up. Now, we have to understand that when we are upsetting our sleep pattern, our sleep cycle, it not only robs us of the energy which we feel throughout the day, it upsets our circadian cycle, which circadian rhythm, which means the rhythm by which we get up in the morning, function throughout the day, and sleep. All the organisms in the world, all the organisms operate according to their own circadian rhythm. And when this circadian rhythm is disrupted, the person is not bodily able to function properly. The emotions go up and down because of uh, the hormonal changes which take place. For example, if you see a person who's working in a BPO and operates throughout the night and sleeps throughout the day over a long period of time, over a episode of say something like 2 to 3 years, 4 years, tends to develop some kind of abnormalities in the systemic form, uh, be it putting on a lot of weight, or be it not being able to exercise properly and able to carry out daily activities. So this is one. Have a designated sleep time, have a designated rising time. That will help a lot. Second is to maintain, to adopt a sleep hygiene protocol. Now, what is a sleep hygiene protocol? A sleep hygiene protocol consists of, number one, having a clean bed to sleep on. The bed sheets should be fresh. They should be clean, if not replaced every day. At least they should be clean and proper. And second is, it would help a lot, in my experience, to take a lukewarm shower before the person turns into sleep. The shower not only cleanses the person physically, but also increases the blood circulation and gives a certain kind of mental relaxation to the individual, so that a person can approach the bed and take a proper night of sleep. And again, there is a practice which many people follow. I am not a big advocate, but I it works for a lot of people. That is meditation. Now, uh, we all follow different religions, I'm sure, or I I'm sure there would be people from all walks of life here. So there are practices where before sleeping, person would be chanting some kind of a mantra, remembering the God, or if not that, at least expressing their gratitude for whatever positive things are existing in their life. What happens is this puts the person in a positive frame of mind to be able to be able to sleep properly. Now, this is an individual choice. I do not indulge in that. I do not feel the requirement, or I do not gain any kind of uh, gain anything out of that. But it's an individual choice, like I mentioned. Okay. Another aspect is try to avoid any kind of screen at least an hour before you turn into sleep. Screen could be your smartphone or laptop or television. Just turn them off an hour before you sleep and you're good to go. The white light, blue light, whatever, it disrupts your mental waves and it does not allow the mind to relax. The mind should be in a relaxed manner, in a relaxed pose for it to allow the person to sleep. So that being there, there's another aspect of sleeping. In case the depressed person is unable to sleep, one can recommend a light reading. Don't uh, don't let it be something emotional or heavy. Person can indulge in some kind of reading, maybe a few pages, and then turn in again. Because what is noticed is a person who is lying down, not able to sleep, will not be able to sleep for a long period of time, and there is a certain thought pattern which will be going cyclically in the person's mind and gaining momentum, just like a ball of snow in an avalanche. So one can try reading. uh, I'm sure that would help. Another final aspect which I wanted to discuss is meditation. Now, again, meditation has different meanings for different people. Some people think that folding the legs and folding the arms and trying to connect to the Almighty is one way of meditating. I'm sure that works for many people. If it works, it works. You cannot question that. But meditation could be anything which gives you pleasure, which makes you unaware of the time passing by. This is what happens with me if I am doing something which is pleasurable to me, which I enjoy doing, or which I indulge in so much that I lose track of the time. For me, that is meditation. I love riding a bike, so whenever I am on a bike, the time passes like anything. But that is meditation for me. My wife loves cooking, and whenever she indulges in cooking, she has no idea of how much effort she is putting in or how much time she's investing in that. And by the end of it, she's all sweaty, but she is very happy with the outcome. So that is why we say that there are phrases, there are people who go around saying you should develop a hobby. It is very much akin to having something which we can call meditation. So these are my tips and techniques which I think would help you taking care of a loved one who's depressed, or who's undergoing a sense of grief or a sense of loss. And before I address your questions, there's one serious aspect of mental health illness which I would like to discuss with you. Please take it very seriously. Mental health issues are serious. They are not something to be swept under the rug. Nowadays, there are uh, different professional approaches, and These are diagnosable conditions. These are treatable conditions. Do not treat them as mad. They are not mad. They need your love. They need your support. Uh, they want to be understood. They want to be taken care of. So before I sign off, before I address your questions, I would like to suggest that any kind of mental illness should not be taken lightly. It has to be approached in a professional manner. There are people who can help you. There are counselors, there are psychiatrists, there are psychologists who can help the individual. And I think professional help should be sought in case a person is found to be mentally ill. So that's all for now. I'll be just turning into my laptop to see whatever questions have been put forward. Just a second. Okay, I think there is a lag. Okay, so we have very good information. RK Kumar, thank you. I hope it was of some use to you. Uh, what do you eat in your daily life? Okay, what do I eat in my daily life? It varies. It varies on what I am doing, what kind of a workout approach I'm having. In case I'm having a hard strenuous workout, I'll be taking a protein shake, which is minus sugar. I don't take any sugar. And then lunch would be something very seasonal, whatever the best seasonal vegetables which we get. And evening is some kind of a complex carbohydrate. And then there is a bit of healthy snacking and all that. But I do maintain my portions. I do eat about 80% of how hungry I'm feeling on that particular day. And I have replaced all my simple carbohydrates. And I cannot stress on this enough. Replace your simple carbohydrates with the complex carbohydrates. Any doubt, go on fitrebel.in and simple carb. Just search for simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates. You'll get all the information that you need. Okay. In case you don't, just shoot a question there. I'll be happy to assist you. I think that answered the question. Okay, so Rahul Swami, very healthy advice, but I want to know how can I control overeating? Means sometimes we feel we eat enough, but lack of good taste, we try to eat more snacks. This is this is a very common problem, Mr. Rahul. Uh, See, what happens is there is a lot of distraction going around in our lives today. We have so many social media streams, uh, so many news coming on the television, and we are basically distracted. Once we sit down to eat, we should not be distracted by anything. We should be able to focus on what we are eating. We should be able to feel what we are eating. We should be able to taste what we are eating. There are certain times, believe me, individuals eat lunch or dinner, and if you ask them after half an hour what they have taken, what they have consumed, they will not be in a position to answer that question because they do not remember. If they do not remember what they are eating, how can they remember how much they are eating? We need so little. Our body is not a machine to digest large amount of food. Just think of food as fuel. Do not think of food as a tool to emotionally gratify you. See, the ad business is to make a fool out of us. It's to rob us of our wealth and, most importantly, our wealth. Understand that. The medicine of tomorrow is food. You control your food, you will not need any kind of medication throughout your life. You will not need the assistance of a doctor. Me being a doctor, I'm telling you this. Okay, mindful eating. There is latest article published on mindful eating on fitrebel.in. Go read that. Whenever you eat, take care of all the distractions, separate yourself from all the distractions, eat mindfully, see what you're eating, taste it, feel it. Okay, and get rid of all the processed food. Right, I think I have answered that. So now we have Ram Naresh. Very nice information, sir. Most welcome. What is the best exercise for sedentary lifestyle people? Okay, best exercise for sedentary lifestyle people. Sedentary lifestyle people are not exercising anyway. So, like I said, we should approach exercising in the most simplest manner that we can. Do not try to out exercise a bad diet. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. The first thing you need to control, first thing you need to take care of is your diet. Get a nutritive diet. Don't go on a diet. Don't divide yourself. Don't make any major food group absent from your daily meals. But try to eat nutritive food. Okay, and if you are starting a newbie, if you're a newcomer to exercising, start slow, be consistent, and take the simplest form of exercise that you enjoy doing. Okay, I suggest if you like music, put on your earphones, go for a walk. You do that 30 minutes every day, 5 days a week. Come and talk to me after 6 months. You'll be much healthier, much happier, and much more available to take up better forms of exercise. Okay, I think I've answered that. So, okay, great. Amrita KP is watching with you. Thank you. Vishal Abori is watching. Great. Zubin, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Amrita. Again, Harish Verma. How can we get rid of negative thoughts? Okay, Harish, trying to put me in a tight spot. Okay, never mind. How can we get rid of negative thoughts? See, life is unfair, and it's unfair for everyone. We have to approach life in a manner that it has no obligation towards you. No one is obligated towards you. Your parents are not obligated towards you. Your spouse is not obligated towards you. Your children are not obligated towards you. Anything positive which you have to make happen in your life is your duty, is your responsibility. No one is going to do it for you. Inculcate a sense of gratitude. There are so many things in a person's life which a person can be grateful of, but we are so thankless. We have become a society of consumerists. We are so thankless towards all the blessings which have come our way that we 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 have a blindfold towards all the blessings which are there in our life. Once you start practicing gratitude, life will be much easier. Think of a person who's paraplegic, a person who has no limbs. I have seen paraplegics competing in Paralympics. How can you beat that? That person has no excuse. What is yours? What is yours? Okay, so another one is Gyan Kumar. Very great information, especially the last words emphasizing mental health illness. It's the need of the hour. Yes, it is. Yes, Gyan. Yes, I'm happy you found this discussion useful. Okay. Food is not for emotional gratification. Yes, you got it right. Priyanka Shite is watching. Thank you. Yoga is perfect for weight loss or not? Yoga is perfect for life. Yoga is one of the only workout philosophies in the world which is progressive. Now, let me explain that. Say if you're into weightlifting, I would be bench pressing, say something like 80 kgs, moving on to 90, and then moving on to 100. 100 would be max for me. I'm 64 kgs myself, so 100 kgs would be max. I can do a bench press of. So, what is the next step? How can we go on to the next step? We can increase that 100 kgs to 105, 110. Right? No, wrong. We cannot do that. without uh, inculcating an environment to injure ourselves. Now there are people who can bench press up to 150 or I'm sure more than that, but that is not the point here. The point here is the yoga is the only progressive system. The more you practice yoga, the more you become healthy and the more you become flexible. Uh, uh, I have seen people who are flexible like rubber bands. So it is not a form of exercise. It's a lifestyle. Once you start practicing yoga, it is so alluring. It is so addictive in the good sense, of course, that you tend to make it a part of your life. Whenever I go for a workout, if I go to a health club, I make sure I do certain yoga poses before I start my workout and after I start my workout. I use them as stretching exercises. If you are approaching yoga, if you want to use yoga as a workout tool, I suggest you start with Surya Namaskar, and all that information is available on the net. Okay, so let me just see. I think that should be the end of our question answer session. Okay, so I think we have taken care of all the questions. Uh, it was great being with you all. For giving me an opportunity. Dr. James Kim, I want to speak a few words about him. I have known him since quite some time. James, much thanks to you, man, for inviting me over here and letting me express my views on the topic given and interacting with the audience. Uh, James Kim himself is a renowned writer. He has many publications to his name, and the most important is 10 weight loss secrets of a busy person. If you get a chance, you should read that. It's a great read. It will give you insight on how you can manage your modern progressive lifestyle and your weight loss journey. And he's also the co-founder of Vitamin Detox Secrets. He operates out of US and South Korea. So that's it. Myself, Dr. Bhanu Oburi, I'll be signing off. And thanks to all of you for making this happen. And I hope we will meet again soon. Thank you.